Hello, this is Dr. Sarah Lawrence, and today I'm going to talk about epinephrine auto-injectors and generic substitution. And I'll answer the question that everyone has been asking lately about whether there is in fact a generic EpiPen available in the U.S. Epinephrine auto-injectors are often referred to simply as EpiPens. But this is a bit of a misnomer because there are actually several products on the market besides the EpiPen. These devices are used for fast response to life-threatening allergic reactions. Each device is an auto-injector that makes it easy for non-healthcare professionals to administer a dose of epinephrine in an emergency. This is done by removing the cap on the device, pressing the device against the outside of the upper leg, and pushing the button on the device to deliver the dose. The dose may be injected through clothing if necessary. And each of these products is available in two different doses, a 0.3 milligram dose for patients over 30 kilograms and a 0.15 milligram dose for patients who are 15 to 30 kilograms. Currently, there are 3 approved products in the U.S., 3 approved epinephrine auto-injectors. They are the EpiPen, which is by far the most famous, marketed by Mylan Pharmaceuticals, very well-known product. The Adrenaclick, which is marketed by Amedra Pharmaceuticals, and AlviQ, which is a product of Sanofi. This device, the AlviQ, however, is currently unavailable due to a product recall for inconsistent dosing. So while we do have 3 approved products, there are only 2 that are currently available. Change gears for a moment now and talk about generic substitution and explain some of the principles behind this process. The process of generic substitution in the U.S. is by and large governed by the Orange Book, which is the FDA's listing of approved drug products with therapeutic equivalence evaluations. The drug approval process is where we'll start. The FDA approves brand name drugs on the basis of what's called a new drug application, or an NDA, filed by the innovator company. When I say the innovator company, I mean the company that either invented the drug that they're trying to get approved, or the company who's purchased the rights to that drug and is trying to get it brought to the market so that they could sell it. Once approved, the manufacturer of a brand name drug has a certain length of time, in years, to market their products exclusively or without competition from generic products. Generic drugs are approved by the FDA on the basis of an abbreviated new drug application, or an ANDA. This requires a little bit less data. The generic drug just has to be proven to work the same, rather, as the brand name drug. Then there's another way that generics can come to the market, and that is through a process called an authorized generic. Authorized generics are marketed based on the NDA of the innovator company, the original manufacturer. Therefore, you're not going to see a listing in the Orange Book for authorized generics because they are under the same NDA as that original brand name drug. And I'll show you some examples of that a little bit later. Drug products are considered to be therapeutic equivalents only if they are pharmaceutical equivalents and if they can be expected to have the same clinical effect and safety profile when administered to patients under the conditions specified in the labeling. And I know that's a lot of words. That is the FDA definition for therapeutic equivalence. Remember, a generic product has to be therapeutically equivalent to the brand name. So the first key part of that is that the 2 products must be pharmaceutical equivalents, and that means that they are the same active ingredient at the same dose, in the same dosage form, and using the same route of administration. Provided that that criteria is met, then the 2 products must have the same clinical effect, same safety profile, when administered to patients under the conditions specified in the labeling. So they have to be the same drug and they have to work the same way in patients in order to be considered therapeutically equivalent. I mentioned that the Orange Book is the guidebook to therapeutic equivalence in the U.S. And what I'm showing you here is the front page of the FDA's Orange Book. It is an online resource, a searchable database. You can also download the app in the App Store or Google Play, or navigate to it using the link at the bottom of the slide. And here on the next slide, you can see where I went into the Orange Book and searched for epinephrine products that were available. And my results returned a whole lot of different products. There are many dosage forms of epinephrine in the U.S. What I was primarily interested in showing you are those auto-injector devices. And as I mentioned before, there are 3 that have been approved. You can see the names kind of to the left of your slide. I've put a box around them for emphasis. The Adrenaclick, the AlviQ, and the EpiPen. The lower dose EpiPen is the EpiPen Junior. To the right, you'll see that I have put a box around some codes to emphasize what those are. Where you see RLD, that means reference listed drug. That is the drug that was listed in the new drug application. It's the brand name drug, the innovator drug, to stick with some of our terminology that we've discussed. So each of these products is a reference listed or brand name drug. The BX that you see to the left of that is the therapeutic equivalence code. And to simplify this as much as possible, BX means that these products are not therapeutically equivalent to each other. If they were, the first letter of that code would have to be A. These are not. They're not therapeutically equivalent, and they are therefore not interchangeable with each other. Now, I said I would answer the question of whether or not there's a generic EpiPen available in the U.S., and the answer is that there is not. There is no generic available for EpiPen, nor for AlviQ, but Lineage Therapeutics does market an authorized generic version of Adrenaclick, one of our 3 devices. Patients who are interested in obtaining that generic product must talk with their prescriber, must get a new prescription for the Adrenaclick device or for simply generic epinephrine auto-injector, and I've put that in quotes because that's what should be written on the prescription, and be sure that the prescription includes the correct strength, the 0.3 milligrams or the 0.15 milligrams. Any prescriptions that are out there for EpiPen or for AlviQ cannot be filled with the generic auto-injector. Remember, the generic auto-injector is a generic for Adrenaclick. It can only be dispensed when the original order was for Adrenaclick or for the generic product itself. So if you have a prescription for EpiPen and you'd like to get this generic, you will need to see your prescriber to get a new prescription for Adrenaclick or for the Adrenaclick generic. As always, you should discuss with your prescriber any changes or concerns that you have about your therapy. Here are some disclosures. This information is provided for educational purposes only. It should not be considered medical or health-related advice. And as I mentioned, you should discuss any medical or prescription-related concerns with your prescriber or your pharmacist. I am not employed by or affiliated in any way with Mylan Pharmaceuticals, Amedra Pharmaceuticals, Sanofi, or Lineage Therapeutics, and you can contact me by leaving a comment on my video. Here are my references and some links that you can use to get more information. And thank you for watching.